Right, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Let me just. There was something I was going to look up. What was it? Paul in, everybody. Come on in. Let's get this kicked off. What the heck was this? Oh, I remember. It was the core. It was stuff about the courses. Epistemology. The study of the epistles. There's a individual that wrote me that's interested. We need a few more people for the that want to sign up for the Canvas course. One second. I'm looking at J up. Translating X is the necessary condition for X into a categorical standard. No, there's no need to. That's usually put in a modus ponens, and it's not in a standard categorical form. Standard categorical form needs a subject and predicate. One second. You mean in terms of a syllogism? You have to have three standard categorical form propositions. And two of the occurrences of each term must be identical. Each term, you can't equivocate, so each term has to be used in the same sense throughout the argument. And the first premise is the major premise, and the minor premise, and obviously the conclusion is last in order to have a standard form categorical syllogism. No, I don't need to. You don't always need to do that. So no need. It just, you only do things in logic if you need to do something. If there's a specific, somebody was asking me too in class. When would you use the Boolean approach versus? Oh, I see what you're saying. All y's are x's. Some things are. Yeah. I probably would use predicate logic for that too. But again, it's all about what do you want to do. Somebody asked me, a student, when do you know to use Aristotelian logic versus Boolean? Depends on what you want to do. Is you remember I did an argument for using standard form syllogistic arguments, all valid, unconditionally valid, for proving that the mind is immaterial. It obviously makes use in some of those syllogisms of universals. And of course, an atheist is probably going to be a nominalist, or a materialist is obviously a nominalist, and so they're not going to accept the existence of universals. So that's exactly why I would take on those particular syllogisms a Boolean approach, that universal propositions don't have existential import. Whereas something that somebody wouldn't dispute is existing, I would take an Aristotelian. So it just depends on what you want to do. There's different logics to do different stuff. So all right, news. First of all, let me see if we got any more super chats. I just want to give a shout out to everybody. Dave the Philippian donates $10. Our regular wonderful contributor and supporter, who always is contributing to Patristic Faith and supporting us every stream. Can't thank you enough, Dave. Looking forward to seeing you. I want to remind all of you, today is the last day to get your discounted tickets for our conference, MontaNIKA 2025 in June. Starting tomorrow, April 1st, and that ain't no joke. It's not an April Fool's joke. Tickets will go back up to $185 for regular price. So if you want to save some money, you gotta register today. Where is my million tabs? My Patristic Faith. Did I close it down? Alright, I'm just gonna open this back up. PatristicFaith.com. I'm gonna start singing everything in 90s rock. Patristic Faith, go to the website. Oh yeah. I'm closing this. I'm opening this. So you can purchase your ticket. Today is the last day. Oh, Kristen already put it up. I need to be more. Okay, other news. I have built out my Epistemology Canvas course. And as soon as we get a couple more, we already have people who have written me who have expressed interest. We get a couple more, and we can then all get together and pick the best date. Some people proposed May 1st. But that's usually what we do when we kick off one of these courses, is I just get everybody together and say, okay, what day works best to begin this? And I just take, obviously, the date that most people choose, and then also with the choosing the live office hours tutoring, what day works, and I just pick, some, those are all recorded too, so you can please some of the people some of the time, how's it go? You can please some of the people all the time, all the people some of the time, but not all the people all the time. By the president, whose name will not be mentioned. Not one of my favorite U.S. presidents, but anyways, that's what we do typically for what date. It's usually evening office hours that we pick, so long as it doesn't conflict. It's usually not Friday nights, because after Lent we're kicking back up the catechesis program, so no Friday nights. Tuesday nights are out, because that's when I play bluegrass with the band, and so it's usually Monday, Wednesday, or Thursday nights or Sunday nights that are available. to do that, and then we just, everybody kind of votes on what would be the best date to do those. And you're not obligated. It's just like something you can take advantage of. You don't have to go to office hours every week. But, it is something that comes with the course. And as I said, what do you get? Well, we're discounting it from $850 to $750 for the course. It's the same course taught and approved by the universities, by accredited colleges and universities that I teach at. Obviously, way more affordable. The most affordable college would be something like a community college, and we have actually made it cheaper than that. No registration fees that you have to worry about. And what do you get for that? You get a 16-week university course on epistemology with the free educational software, the interactive software called Canvas. Now with that you get 24 epistemology lectures. Each lecture is roughly about an hour and a half, hour and 15 minutes. You get a free textbook of Bonjour, which is one of the textbooks. The other one that we use is you do have to purchase is the Duncan Pritchard. It's not a lot of money. But you get a full 16-week asynchronistic college course, which you can take at your own speed. People choose whether to go week by week. Obviously, you get the most out of that, just like you would be when you sign up at college. It would be a 16-week. But people have jobs and busy schedules, and so they can opt out of that option and just go have access to whenever they want the course. And you get access to, so long as the Canvas exists and they don't shut it down, even after the completion of the course, you have access to it. So it's not one you just complete it like, oh, it's over. You could go back in and get access to all those materials so long as Canvas remains a company in existence. You get graded, assigned homework, quizzes, papers, which are graded. Like I said, live office hours and tutoring, a minimum an hour a week, so long as there's not like a vacation or something like that, or I'm away on a trip. That's on Zoom, but usually it goes a lot longer than an hour, so that's an extra benefit. But even at the tutoring of an hour, that's $1,440, over a $1,400 value just in that, even if you didn't get all the rest of the material. So it's $750 course is definitely worth, even if you just got the weekly hour tutoring sessions and office hours. You get a signed certificate of course completion by your instructor at the end, a files section with other free documents and resources, and like I said, a full interactive software that is called Canvas that we use at the university, even after the completion. So if you are interested in that, we are taking people. You can write me and express your interest, and like I said, once we get a couple more, we'll actually determine a date to actually open the course up. You'll purchase, open the course, and we'll kick it off. So write me at Father Ananias at patristicfaith.com or esorm9, that's ESOREM, as in Michael, the number 9, at hotmail.com, or you can write my Carroll College account, ESOREM, at Carroll, CARROLL.edu. Okay. Shot. I gotta get glasses. Pray for my eyes, guys. I ruined them staring into the TV screen too long. It's reading off. I was telling my buddy that he came up here. He was the speaker. But we did our bachelor's, master's, and PhD. We were roommates in Ireland. And I was telling him about my eyes are shot. I'm like, they were shot in grad school when we were in Ireland. Back in like 2006 or 7, and I still... from reading too much. Somebody asked a question. By the way, we say they're Lenten prayers. They're no different than the normal prayers that we do outside of Lent. So there's nothing special about. It's just we're in Lent. And I use this, there's lots of prayer books. Isn't this from the Schismatic Holy Protection Monastery? The Schismatic made good books. What did I tell you? They're not communion, they're not a real church, but obviously they do good literature and publications and stuff like that. And you can see in any of the prayer books, they usually have listed, obviously the Trisagion, everybody knows that one, but there's prayer by St. Macarius, St. Basil the Great, St. John Chrysostom, prayer of the Optima Fathers, etc. So somebody had a question about that. That's what, and even if you notice in pre-communion prayer, they're also listed. Like somebody was asking what was the origin of these prayers. Well, it oftentimes lists St. Simeon the New Theologian, St. Basil, St. John Chrysostom, and who actually originally came up with those prayers. If it doesn't list it, we probably don't know. All right, questions? Elias donates $10. Tips $10. Thank you. Do fathers discuss epistemology as the interactive process between two agents, where we actualize a stimulate back, or knowing a thing is a natural operation of the knower, not the known? So I'm not really sure what that means. I could try to work through it. I don't think any of the fathers would think it was an inner... You don't need two agents in order to know something. Somebody had a really good question. He's a philosophy professor, and he was reading my most recent article entitled Epistemic Theories and Metatheoretical Validation, and he said, what do you mean by knowledge exists? Because I said, knowledge, how do we, when I'm trying to establish like second order metatheoretical validation, does knowledge exist? I never heard anybody ask that. I'm like, that's interesting. I haven't talked to the professor yet, but it can relate to your question. By exist, I keep it just like the epistemologists do when, whether it's Bonjour or Duncan Pritchard, Ernest Sosa, or something like that, when having, they have a text on epistemology, they don't go, in order to talk about these, what knowledge is, that's what Duncan Pritchard's book is, what is this thing called knowledge? They keep it general enough that you don't go to somebody's specific view of knowledge, that you can talk around the issue. That's like, yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about. We can define it generally enough that we're talking around it or about it without having to get into debates about whose definition or conception of justification or knowledge is the correct one. because you want to start with the general and move to. So, I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm not going to get into it's exactly what, Bonjour says. We'll suspend the whole, like, specifics about what exactly is justification or whose position is right to talk about it in general. Now, people said you can't do that, you have to take. It's like, I can do whatever I want, first of all. And second of all, if these other epistemologists are writing textbook where they do this all the time and nobody has a problem, then you're committing the fallacy of holding me to an unreasonable standard that you would not hold to anybody else. Okay, so generally what I talk about is, what do we mean by knowledge, kind of generally speaking? That it exists. To agents, persons, subjects, have beliefs that are true, and however one wants to cash out a theory of truth, that are warranted. They're not accidental. But do we live in a world in which that not only is possible, but agents actually have that? Now, if we get to your question, Elias, that does not require two agents. Can a person have a belief that's true, that's warranted? Whether causally or by other reasons, etc. So I would not agree with that it's an actual stimulus between two agents, or that knowing a thing is a natural operation of the knower, not the known. I probably would agree with that. That God has created us, that this is obviously an energy or energy from one's nature. However, if it doesn't have a specific relation to that the world's not constituted in such a way, i.e. the known, God creating you to be a knower and having this natural operation isn't going to do you any good. If there's not a regularity of nature, if nature's constantly changing, if there's not a thing to be known, if it's Heraclitean flux, it doesn't matter what your nature is, the world's unknowable. So those two things need to both be necessary conditions. The world itself and the agent who would know the world is created in such a way that it's capable of being known, that you could have beliefs that you say are true and you're warranted. There's justification for that. I don't know any of the fathers that discuss that. I do like your question about Boethius. I don't remember exactly. I have to go back. It's been a while since I read Boethius, Consolational Philosophy, but there might be good material in there. I don't know why Boethius is. He's obviously in the time, way like really early on. What is it? 2nd century or 3rd century? Like it's really early. It's pre-schism, but he's not in the Orthodox considered a saint. But like he's got his Consolations of Philosophy are really amazing. Okay. Not strong. Donates $10. Father, do you know Romanian? Yes. I'm not fluent in it. I can do liturgical prayers in Romanian. Do you have a book program recommendation? Just take talking at the parish? Ask a Romanian. Yeah, that's what I did. I never had any book. I mean, I have a dictionary that but I learned by mimesis, imitation. I just started trying to say the prayers and do the things. And then, of course, when talking to the Romanians, when I was in a Romanian parish, that they would teach me certain words and pronunciations. All right, let's see. Moving on. Thank you so much. Jab, yeah, you can ask Jab and other people in the chat to have taken the courses. But Elias, yeah, most fathers kind of don't really take deep dives into epistemology. And if so, it's usually in terms of theological. You have Saint Isaac the Syrian and stuff like that. But maybe you get stuff in Saint Maximus. Brian has a question. Can you expand or clarify autonomous or theonomous epistemology beyond my elementary, which is? So, I was trying to see. He's 500s? Is that? Why I thought he was earlier than. I can't figure out what's going on in the chat. There's a service and icon being painted under the. Of what? Oh, he's listed as a saint in. Huh. I didn't know he was. Like, I'd try to find. I couldn't find him, so if you found, that's good. Alright, so autonomous versus theonomous. How do I define that? So epistemology concerning, whether knowledge exists, how it would be possible to justify that it exists. Let me see if I have I think I have a definition. By autonomous epistemology, I mean any attempt to construct a philosophical account of the world on the assumption that it is possible God doesn't exist, or that it's possible for man to possess knowledge and give a coherent and justified account of this knowledge independent, autonomous, from the existence and revelation of God. That's what I mean. So you may be a natural theist, you may believe in God, but you're doing it autonomously and independent of God. Oh, he might exist with something we have to prove. So you construct a system, philosophically or epistemologically, on your unjustified assumptions about the world, about yourself, about how reason, philosophy, and epistemology work. That's autonomous. Because theonomous would be like, it's in the other category. It's impossible. Right? And what I show is, theonomous epistemology is, so if autonomous is like a Tower of Babel, I'm constructing a faulty system that's unjustified as a Tower of Babel to get up to God. Theonomous is admitting that's impossible. You do not prove, there's nothing independent of God or higher than God that you prove his existence or prove knowledge, but like, the starting point is God. God is the Lord, as the psalmist says, who's revealed himself. So it's the flip. Rather than you constructing an erroneous Tower of Babel to the heavens, theonomous is the act of intellectual humility. Be like, it's impossible. I humble myself, and God exalts me by God coming down and revealing that I am the creator of all. I have created the world, and everything is grounded in me. There's nothing that stands behind me. You don't prove my existence. I'm that by which everything else is proven, and proof itself. I am the starting point. That's theonomous. Because notice, you don't start with yourself. You don't look like Lucifer and go, wow, look how beautiful I am in my system. It's always God first in all things. And God reveals himself. Does that make sense? Yes, it proves that because God does not reveal himself as a generic God or a term God, Deus. So the reason it's for revelatory theism. God reveals himself as Trinity, not as a generic philosophic God of the philosophers that you can just plug into a modus ponens. So the modus ponens, the disjunct, the tag, that's not actually what proves God. God's revelation proves those arguments in the recursive. So it's... Do you see what the issue is? So it's for an entire paradigm. It's for revealed theology. And God does not reveal himself as a generic monad, a strict monad. He reveals himself as Trinity. He reveals himself in history. It's the entire paradigm of God, including the prophets, the saints, the angel of the Lord, as we read in the prophet of Isaiah. All of it. And so to think otherwise is to be stuck in an autonomous epistemology. So also, God is not a rigid designator. It doesn't have a referent. It's not a proper name. It can mean different things. So that's not what we mean when we're proving God. And what we mean is we're proving the entire revelation paradigm. That's what makes it essentially different. So somebody asks, well, why does God have to be a Trinity? Why is that? Because that's what he... that's what he revealed himself at. Like, if God is a Trinity, it's impossible for him not to be Trinity. And if the necessary condition of the possibility of knowledge is God, because he created the world, there's intention behind it. He created you to know the world, that it's knowable, that you can know him, and all these things. It has to be Trinity because that's what he is. That's what he revealed. Like, I mean, it's insane to be like, could God be God and not God at the same time? Like, it's not even a logical question. So why does it prove the Trinity? Because that's what God is. It's impossible. The meaning of the term God means Trinity. Now, you could change that, but you're no longer to mean something else. You can mean, this or whatever you... But we're not talking about the same entity. We're not actually, or it's possibly, usually with the other religions, the term God doesn't even refer to anything. It's just referring to a phantasm created in your own head. So, good question. So the reason why... So think about it this way. Maybe we should just stop calling it an argument. As Russ Mannion said, because it makes us think still stuck in autonomous epistemology. Tag is not an argument. Not in the strict sense. So Russ Mannion says, there is no purely rational rationalistic proof for theism. There's only a theistic account of rationality. That's it. So, and people want to keep bringing it to be like, well, you have to answer that. What about, it's like, you're missing the whole point. There is no arguments or a coherent account of rationality, knowledge, in a world of accidentalism. There is no proof that stands we don't start with well, how do you prove God's, because there's nothing that stands behind God that's independent of him by which you prove him by. So there's only, it's a radical different way of looking at and living in the world. There is nothing else that either I remain in irrationality and arbitrariness, and I'm just like, and believe in a world in which these things are impossible, or there's only a theistic account of rationality. Yes, and theonomous and autonomous are mutually opposed. Autonomous epistemology is self-refuting and contradictory, because once you show that it's accidentalism is false, intentionalism is the mutually exclusive category, where God is the necessary condition for the possibility of knowledge, then autonomous epistemology literally says it's possible that the necessary condition for the possibility of knowledge is not necessary but only possible. It's both necessary and not necessary. That's a contradiction. So autonomous epistemology, I mean, there's many different ways to show that it fails. That's pretty much the most straightforward way. Learn bluegrass YouTube videos. There's like plenty of people that teach different. All right, moving on. See if we have any more super chats to read. Oh, cool. Okay, what is going on? Let's see. Great question, Mauricio. Do objects have essences and energies? If you want to do a deep dive into well, here's one way why different theism could be true according to Tag. The Orthodox paradigm makes the claim that it's uniquely true and excludes all others. So if A implies not B, and B being other theism, how is it possible that you could have A and not A at the same time? Do you see what the problem is? It's mutually exclusive. So it would mean orthodoxy would have to be false, and some other theism would be true. Now, you could go the other way, true. Well, the other theism's false. So how could it work for Tag if the other theisms make knowledge impossible? They're contradictory, they're incoherent, so no, that's... And it can't be... It has to be a revealed, right? So you get to revelatory theism, there's only 6 options to even consider. Roughly about 6. All of which are defeaters for the possibility of knowledge. So it's pretty easy to walk through those things. And again, I can do this proved by the impossibility of the contrary. However, and I do that in the argument, but it's a weird way of thinking about the world. It's like Cartesian, that in order for you to know something, you have to have absolute certitude and eliminate every possible objection that somebody could come up with that not only exists in this world but every possible world. That's literally insane. Like, nobody holds that view anymore. That's a Cartesian, this indubitable... For you, like I said, for you to know that there's a gas station, do you really have to like go through and be like, well, how do we know somebody doesn't come up with an argument? And is it sufficient? Don't you want to know if it's true? Is it sufficient that you have sufficient justification? If that's true, you know it. All you have to do is have sufficient justification with orthodoxy, and because orthodoxy excludes all others, then you know orthodoxy is true. That's basically what you want to know. I don't have to go, once that's true, and you're justified, I don't have to go through well, how do I know? It's like, again, if you want to take that approach, you wouldn't know anything. That's what you learn in epistemology, why epistemologists abandoned that kind of strong version of knowledge, is because it would make knowing anything impossible. Nobody would reach that level of... Now, I do believe that Tag does do that, but I want to redirect you in the kind of psychology that it's insane to kind of think that way. It's not a rational... Like, interesting enough, it's not a rational thought to have that level of certitude. Yeah, no one's behaviorally consistent with... Nobody applies that in life, but... Alright, let's see if there's any more super chats, and then we'll go into news for today. What is going on in X? Where's Jay Dyer? Is he doing his call for a debate? Oh, I want to go over this. I blocked this lady. But I told this friend, like, guy follows me, seems like a good guy. I'm like, don't engage with these people. Like, because, so Tag is connected to Revelation because in the argument that I present 2 mutually exclusive categories: autonomous epistemology and theonomous. Theonomous is revealed. So if autonomous epistemology is impossible, it must be revealed. Does that make sense? It's pretty straightforward. It's not hard. And there's no such thing as generic theism. That's an incoherent. I've written papers on. Otherwise, you're back into. I created a lowest common denominator, like I'm back in autonomous epistemology. That's why you have to put those as exclusive disjunct. It's either autonomous, and you're coming up with a generic theism, or it's revealed. That's it. It's really easy. And revealed is historical too. Like it's there. It has like that's why you can look and defeat. Remove these other things. It's like yeah, but there's nothing in here. Like it's ahistorical or contradicts history. Like that's how you can remove other claims of revelatory theism, other religions. Is like well, that doesn't matter. Like it's wrong. All right, let's look at this. Did I go over this yet? So remember the whole let's put women in the altar, liberal from your favorite lady, coffee lady. Well, of course, we got to get this person come in, a woman, I blocked, liberal woman, lady. We don't even know if this person's Orthodox because they're anonymous. Oh, I can write words, therefore it must be true. We have misogyny in the church. Now we could talk about this, but these people are not Orthodox in their thought. Why? Because orthodoxy is hierarchical. That's not misogyny. Anything that you don't like is not misogyny. Just because you can spew verbal diarrhea out of your mouth doesn't mean it's true. Okay? Nature is hierarchical. There are real distinctions. Just because things that are different from one another could even theoretically perform the same function, that's irrelevant. That's a very modern idea. A thing only is what it is by virtue of what it does. Okay? Furthermore, there is a real distinctions between things in nature. A modern liberal doesn't believe that. They're in a Promethean rebellion against God and his hierarchy that he's established in nature, real distinctions between men, women, real theological distinctions, and as this guy said, a Luciferian to tear down in rebellion and make all things equal. Remember, the French Revolution, égalité, fraternité, liberté, was a Luciferian kind of idea and rebellion against tradition of the church. So this lady is basically advocating that. Baby girls are not allowed on the altar, but yeah, because guess what? There's a real distinction. I mean, think about if we started saying this. Well, it's not fair that readers and subdeacons can't walk through the royal doors. Well, it might as well because rando liberal lady said so on the internet, we've got to do it. Because it's demeaning to readers and it's like, no, they're real. It would confuse everything. Boys are not girls. lady. And guess what? Why don't we just tell this person, we don't care what you think. We don't care about your feelings. We don't care if you're upset. You're not going to change the church. So you can leave. If that's what you want to do, you can leave, because it ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen on my watch. What do you get? How do you know that these people are demonic? Because you call them out on their heresies. And what do? They call it funny and like they just... It's never rational. Yeah, go troll somewhere else. We don't care what you think. You're not that important. And I wish this guy would stop talking to her, because it makes her feel like she's somebody important. Yeah. And notice what these people do. I'm so important. I'm God. This lady thinks she's God. I'm thinking like you're God, you become a demon. Going around telling people they're wrong. Not just people that they're wrong. Oh, clergy in the hierarchy are wrong. Revisionist history. I know where the rules written. It's not rules. It's nature. There's real distinctions. Women are the future of the church. Discriminate. You're not in a position to determine. Obviously, you don't even have the virtues to be able to have discernment. When is something discrimination and not? So your verbal diarrhea accounts for nothing. Isn't that the great thing about objective truth? Objective truth doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care about your opinions. It doesn't care anything about you, ladies. So you're not going to change it. You can learn. Everybody else is wrong and I'm right. That's what... And she has to go into a whole thing about, well, you know what? Yeah. Accuse the person of what you're doing. You're condescending, like, it's obviously anybody reading this, like, that's actually what this... feminist demon is actually saying. I wouldn't go that far. That one's a funny... And they just can't stop. Look how long this lady... What does she think? Oh, here's a great one. I'm a phony. This just shows her ignorance. He's a deacon that should call himself father. What an idiot. How dumb do you have to be to realize, to not know that deacons are called fathers? Can you believe this? Clown. This is what we gotta... This is the kind of stuff... That's why I just block these people, but... Demonic clowns. Your friend Father S, who's not a priest, if you want to follow the canons. Strike 2, a why you're an idiotic clown. Deacons are part of the priesthood, lady. And as such, they're considered priests, not presbyters. The priest, obviously. But they're deacons of the lowest rank of the priesthood. We're ordained the same way, right? I can't do what the priest does, but deacons are like, why this is so... You know why? Because it comes out of hate. Anything to attack the diaconate, right? You don't like something a deacon say, will just create a lie and be like, they have no authority. They're not priests. They're not part of the priesthood, blah, blah, blah. Yes, I'm an ordained priest. A deacon's a priest. You can just repeat this. Man. I told us, I'm like, just stop talking to this demon. It's, yeah. And it's, what do they always do? Create a red herring. Oh, the problem is converts. To be honest, I miss the whole full block option, but just like, what did I say? We're cowards because I blocked her. Oh, that's not cowardice, dude. I blocked demons. Her and her Solinsky tactics accusing, typo. Us. Do you want to do one of these? Us. Oops. Being fanatics and espousing her won't work on us. You demonic sorcerer. Furthermore, again, quit talking to this lady. She's not that important to gauge. Like, her opinions don't matter. It's literally demonic noise. And back in the, last year, I could just block and they couldn't see or engage with anybody on my... Don't tell me what to do. I'll tell whatever I want. Because you're a lady. You're a demonic lady. And anyways, I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. What a sorcerer. Absolute nonsense with these people. Quit talking to her. It makes her feel important. She's not important. Pastor Randolph. It's a good. Feeling the Wolf, 2 pounds. Thank you so much, dear brother. Yeah, just why don't these people join the Roman Catholic Church or the Anglican? What do we got? Yeah, leave. Your kind is not welcome here. Or stay, repent, and be healed. But none of us are going to sit around and let you destroy people's souls and tear down the church. Like I said, not on my watch. Thank you, Joseph. And if lady, it's not your job to read the canons and interpret, rightly divide, to find the word of the truth. Like, so, again, that's a great thing. Your opinion doesn't matter at all. neither to the church nor to objective reality. All right, moving on. But do you see the energy? Can you pick up the energy? That's what I want to show you guys. There's a demonic energy to it. I don't know what this lady's involved in. If it's actual sorcery and demonic stuff. But obviously she's got a demon attached to her. And she's going to bring it right into the church. And take down as many people as possible. No, she thought deacons weren't priests. Not that they can't be priests. It was just a failure to... I know that's a complicated issue because it's kind of redundant to say, like... So, the three... that's called... the threefold office of the priesthood. Meaning they're priests. Not just clergy. Because there's major clergy, that's what we're talking about, and minor clergy. Minor clergy are not part of the priesthood. Minor clergy are readers and subdeacons. The way that they're ordained or tonsured is very different. It's outside the altar. Right? They're hierothesia. The laying on the hands of the bishop is outside the altar. Priests are done in the altar. Hierotenisa. In the altar, because they're being married to the altar. The one who serves and offers, right? That's literally the meaning of a priest. Now, obviously, they have different functions within the priesthood. A deacon is very different than the priest and the bishop. And the priest is very different from the bishop. But they're all priests. Okay? It's just... the language is confusing because it's like the deacon priest, the priest, which is kind of redundant, and the bishop priest. So, and people are confused about, I've even seen clergy who are confused about this. But again, I was taught this by my bishop, by priests who are scholars that are like, absolutely deacons are priests. They're called fathers. Now, not every tradition has that. Serbians don't call deacons fathers. That's fine. Russians, Romanians, Greeks, they do. So, but you have to see, why is she saying that? Why are these people saying he's just a deacon? And by the way, I seriously are going to make shirts that say on the back, I'm just a deacon. But why would they say he's not ordained in the priesthood? Because they're trying to discredit whatever I'm saying. Defending the truth. Like, that's what you got to be asking. Why would this person say that? Why is this lady right? And all the scholars, right? I was just at a conference with, like, priests who are professors and scholars, and I asked them I ask them every year, I'm like, different people this question, and scholars are like, of course, deacons are priests in Orthodoxy. They're part of the priesthood. They're ordained in the same way. They offer the gifts with the priest. They just can't do that. I can't consecrate. I can't do these things I offer with the priest. But the priest can't do anything without the antimons either. So the priest of priests is really the bishop. The antimons is in place of, is what it literally means. So there's different offices that do different things. It doesn't make them not preordained to the priesthood. This is crazy. So this always comes up, and I've got to argue this case with... I'm just sick of it. Okay. Let's see. Other questions? Yeah, Handmaid Leia. Yes, good question or good response. When women read when they're required to but are not confident if there's a reader available, we're not called to read. There's no scandal. Okay, good. Yeah, stop. Seeing something real quick. All right, let's see if we have any more. Did I just close down the... I hate when I do that when I'm trying to open to check something for you guys and I end up clicking the... I'm looking at my Streamlabs. Filling the wolf. Okay. We got 2 pounds there. All right. Anybody else? Yeah, she probably got her answer from... All right. Let's move to other news. Oh my gosh, dude. Oh. Just constant junk. So deacon does not consecrate. Do you agree? He can aid in offering the gifts. So generically, it's considered, generally part of the priesthood, a priest. And that's important too because Roman Catholics and Protestants don't have that. But obviously, the deacon's not the priest, the presbyter. Cannot consecrate, can only aid in and offering the gifts. But so what does that mean though? Like, you still call them father. They still have authority over you. So why bring that stuff up? Do you not have to... That I don't have... Like, do you see? All this is anti-authoritarian. It's radical egalitarianism. It's atheistic, feminist nonsense. So, all right, that's enough of that. Yeah, Jezebel, exactly. Yeah, what part of the church is she at? Is that what you're asking, Bernard? Yeah, what church does she go to? Obviously, the church of her own mind. Her mind madness church. Feminist mind madness. Alright, moving on. What is going on? It's like Lenten Protestant demons have emerged during Lent. Jordan Patterson. Calvinists believe in a good, loving, and just ministry. Exactly. I don't know if Chase is being sarcastic here. Let's see what the response is. It must be a terrible life. That's the best you can come up with? No, it's just actually Chase is being charitable. Rather think that there's a real person that's that dumb. Chase actually thinks it must be a parody account. Thank you, Chase. That's a very charitable. All right. Made by Jim Bob. Yeah, that's good. Man has no say in what happens with a woman's body. Sir, help use your body to stop this guy. I mean, I can't believe that people act like... Literally does not exist anywhere in history. There's no principle that you can't say or have a law on something unless you're that exact thing. I mean, think about how stupid the logic is. So let's say it's not even gender. Well, you can't actually tell me what to do because you're not existing with all the attributes at this point in space and time that these people just think. And if that's true, if you can't... So well, here's a perfect performative contradiction. If a man has no say in what a woman does with her body, then a woman has no say about what I as a man have to say about what a woman has to say about her body. Do you see that? Performative contradiction. Refuted. Oh, here, look at. Is the theme for today feminism? I think it is. Let's see what Jim Bob has to say here.
What's the obligation for feminists to make society good if you have no obligation to reproduce?
I don't really...
Why is this so bad?
I don't really understand your question.
Why are you acting confused? You argue that feminism is good for society, right? I just asked you. What obligation does feminism have to reproduce for women?
Because women obviously want a flourishing society as well.
No, I didn't ask what you want. I said, do you have an obligation to?
I guess I'm not understanding your question.
Do you have an obligation, not so erudite, to reproduce?
No, nobody does.
You don't. Does any feminist that you know have the obligation to reproduce?
I don't think any human being has an
Okay,
obligation to reproduce.
do men collectively have the obligation to uphold and enforce the law with their bodies?
No, they do not have an obligation.
They
to do
don't.
that.
They don't have an obligation. So if men don't have an obligation to do anything and women don't have an obligation to do anything, how the fuck are you going to argue feminism from your worldview is good for anything?
I'm not gonna lie. I don't even know if you know what this means. Like, I don't even
That's
know.
not
if
an
you know-
argument. No, stop gaslighting me. I just asked you a direct question. Okay.
They're notorious and famous
If
for
men
gaslighting.
from your worldview have no obligation and women have no obligation, can you tell me how anything from your worldview is good for society with no obligations?
Not so erudite. Yeah, great name. That is exactly what it is. That's good, Chase. Joseph. Father Turbo calls Logos Moi spiritual STDs. He said they can be absorbed from family systems, culture. Yeah, absolutely. There's real family curses. Yeah, that's a good way to think about is like diseases that are in the environment. It could be passed through the blood. They're mind viruses. If you touch them in your mind and play with them and entertain them, that you get diseased and sick. Yeah. Where's Jim Bob? I like it when Jim Bob comes in and says hello. Why are we so 26 people were and what happened to everybody? We were at like 45 just a little bit ago. What's the difference between demonic thoughts and demonic influence? Versus Logos Moi. Jim Bob's doing a 20K celebration. What am I at? Have I even gone up at all? Am I stuck? I'm stuck in the 13K or whatever the thing is. So, I mean, I guess there's demons are noetic beings. I do concur with the majority of fathers that they're not pure immaterial substances, but they have some type of they're not purely immaterial. Perhaps composed of some rarefied substance, but they're immaterial relative to us. Material, they have material bodies. Now, but as we talked about in Father Pomazanski's book, according to the fathers, only God could be called purely immaterial. Okay, but they are noetic, right? Okay, having to do with thought, like their domain is thoughts. And so they're messengers. They give messages. Okay, so they're shooting you with most of your thoughts are not yours. They come from, things beyond your control, either the world impressing in on you, or to literally demons shooting thought darts, logosmoi, into your mind. What you're responsible is, again, how you formulate thoughts from the external world that you're sensing, how you kind of do discursive reasoning from certain things, and then the demonic darts and arrows, when they hit you, which is out of your control, how much you engage with those. Okay, so that's obviously demonic influence. Every demonic thought is a type of influence. They can influence things at a greater scale, like by playing 4D chess, right? There's different rankings of angels that are in charge of cities, right? And planets. So there's influence in that. There's influence over families. And then they're capable of taking on visible forms or even moving objects. And so there's influence in that sense. So they don't always have to be, their influence doesn't always have to be your individual mind. Does that make sense? Yes, they don't have bodies, but they may be composed of, they're not pure intelligence. Like, so Aquinas thought they were just pure intelligences. No substance whatsoever. That doesn't seem to be the case from the majority of the fathers. Some fathers had actually thought that they might be composed of rarefied substance like ether, which in antiquity is a... So if air is a substance... I'm muted? One second. We gotta... If air is a substance, air is more rare than earth, then what would be even more rare than air, rarefied, would be ether or something like that. All right, other questions? We were going to go into, do objects have essences and energies? That's a good conversation. So Aristotle makes a distinction between natural bodies and artificial bodies. And that makes sense. Nature versus something artificial is not natural. We call these artifacts. So everything, specifically physical thing, can be said to have an essence, either naturally or artificially. So when we look at a tree, a dog, a human being, a plant, different things, they have their natural bodies, which means they have an immaterial essence. Essence, ousia, from the two Greek words toon, or the plural beings, ante. I could just show you real quick, like this. This is a good discussion. Beings, ta, from the verb to be, ane. So the tree, the rock, the door, the wall, the rabbit, they're all beings. So that's they're things. Is also, it could be translated ta, anta. Okay? Beings are all the particular items in the world that come into being. Okay. Like ta on ta, usia. So here's where we're getting to a form or essence. Is also derived from ane, to be. It's a noun that in ordinary usage means that which is one's own. So we're talking about different things in the world. There is something that which is its own. That can't be taken away. If necessary. You can remove different accidental properties and stuff. It'll still be its own. But you can't take away the usia. What it is to be that. That's the substance. One substance. It's the most real and enduring. Okay, moving on. This later gets associated with phusus, the nature of something. And it comes close to being synonym with the being of. Okay. Now moving back to the original question about essence and energy of objects. Every natural being has an immaterial essence, a nature, an usia, that's objective. It unifies and makes all the material parts be what we just saw, the toanta, be what it is. It unifies all of that. So it's not just a heap, it's actually a substance. This is what Aristotle, hylomorphic substance is, that thing right there. That plant, that tree. And it is an anima, it's a soul. Because for living things and natural bodies of plants, animals, and human beings, their form, their usia, their essence, their nature is living. It organizes all the parts. It has energeia. It does stuff. It has actions. And we learn to what that thing is, its usia, its nature, its essence, by what it does. And we classify those things. So natural objects, living objects that have soul, an anima, a principle of animation appropriate to its kind, its substance, has an essence and it has energies. The difference is it's not its energies. Energies is what, and its activities is what, how you come to know the thing. It's the publicly accessible, right, actions and activities of a thing. Aristotle calls this, so there's two different types of energeia of a natural body, a hylomorphic substance. A soul, Aristotle defines, so these are for living, that's the essence of a living thing, is the first actuality of a natural body having life potentially in it, is the definition out of De Anima. So that calls into question, what's the difference between first and second actuality? First and second actuality are defined in Aristotle is by the, illustrated by the analogy that not everything has the ability or potency to become mathematical or musical. Only things that by nature have the ability to. So let's say you're the sort a plant does not have the ability to potentially become an actual musician or a knowledgeable in music or mathematics. You do. So something in your nature that has that potency to do. Okay. But you're not, until you learn mathematics or music, you don't actually have it. Then you learn it. And you actually are mathematical or musical. That's first actuality. And you are mathematical or musical even if you never do it. If you don't do the music or the mathematics. That would be second actuality. You can only do the things mathematics and music perform the energeias, the activities, if you actually have a first actuality. Okay. Questions about that so far before we move on? Yeah, Natasha, that's another one. They can influence others around you. Good point, yeah. Okay, so a soul, an essence of a living body, as a natural body, has life, energeia, at first actuality, even if it doesn't do anything. If you're in a coma, in a vegetative state, if you're a fetus, a child in the womb, you have the full essence of a human being at first actuality. You don't define a thing in terms of its second actuality, you define it in terms of its first actuality. Second actuality falls from first. Okay, the difference, though, is the energeia, the second at second actuality, are not the thing. It's what the thing does, because it is the thing. So when it comes to God, the difference is there's a real distinction between his essence and his energeia. The difference is he is his energeia. It's God outside the mode of his essence. And they come from all the activities, just like we were talking with the first and second actuality for us, animals and plants, they come from the essence. They're proper to the essence. But they're different than the essence. Does that make sense? Great question. However, non-natural bodies, artifacts, do not have those objectively. A table. They don't have an anima. You take an essence in your mind, an idea of a table, a desk, whatever, and you build it into the parts. But it doesn't exist by nature that way. That's why it's called it's artificial, it's an artifact. And again, you may see the essence of that is a thing that holds books, and a child sees it as a fort. Well, which one is it objectively? It's neither. It's an artifact. It's relative to the perceiver and how they use it and conceive of it. That's the difference. And obviously, they don't have, I don't think artifacts, not inanimate things, have activities, actions. The other thing, the difference between God and living things is the activities are created. They begin a process, and God's energetic activities are uncreated, and they're infinite. There's an infinite amount of them. And not all of those are even actualized in the world. Good questions. All right. Other questions? Any more super chats? No. What happened to... Do they all go to Jimbo? Like, let me just look and see what's going on YouTube here. Should I just end the stream and send you guys over? Yeah. Made by Jim Bob is doing a live 20K. don't forget, today is the last day to purchase your tickets. I'll just keep reminding you all day to get the discounted tickets. Dear Lord. These emails I get from publishers sometimes. When I get mad at a Protestant Twitter, is that a demon or Logos Moi? Well, the demon isn't the thought. They send a thought. And then there's a distinction between... So what are the three distinctions you want to keep in mind? Essence, energy or activity, and person. All three of those things are different. Those concepts are different. A person has an essence, but is not reducible to an essence. So you're a person, you're a unique, and it's not simply like there's some just generic essence, and then anytime you put it into matter, this was Aristotle's idea, that's just what makes a person. That would be reductive. That is true. Every universal essence is instantiated in a particular this. But the person is more than the what we call transcends essence or nature. It's not simply reducible. So they're distinct. The Holy Spirit is a distinct person. So what is it they all have in common? The essence. All right. Now, so each person, distinct person, how are they distinguished? It can't be according to the essence. It's what we call hypostatic properties. The Father is the monarchia, the cause of both the Holy Spirit person, which has the divine essence, and the Son. The Son is defined in terms of being eternally begotten, and the Holy Spirit is defined in terms of the hypostatic property of eternally proceeding from the Father. So there's something in the person that transcends the nature, that's unique, that's mysterious. You don't know what... Because what you know is typically defined essentially. But person is more than essence. Person is a subject that an essence has. Does that make sense? We don't know anything beyond that because it's a mystery. Like, you can't reduce, because person and essence are not the same thing. You can't give an essential definition of personhood because it's not an essence. So I always say is that they're distinct persons by hypostatic or personal properties. The monarchia, the eternally begotten Son, and the eternally proceeding Holy Spirit. That's all we know. And those are distinct from... So there's also hypostatic energies that are unique to each person, and then there's the common properties of the essence of which they all share. Does that make sense? Good question. And it's not autotheos. It's not like there's a floating divine essence out there. And that's why those pictures of like the Trinity, where it has God, Son, and with the essence God in the middle, is misleading, because it looks like there's like a floating essence outside of space and time, and the Father grabs all of it, the Son grabs all of it, and the Holy Spirit. That's heresy. That's autotheos. The Father has it first, not in order of time, but metaphysically and logically. The Father is the monarchy. He is the cause of the divinity. Divinity is not the cause of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The Father is. Does that make sense? That's a good way to put it. In autotheos, the cause of the divinity of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit is the divine essence. In orthodoxy, the cause of divinity is the Father, by which the Son has divinity and the Holy Spirit. Yeah, it's all in the creed. Philosophy's never had a good ability to cash out what person. I do have a book on person and personhood, a couple books on that, which is interesting. David Bradshaw just wrote an article on Boethius and personhood. I'd love to read that. I've always enjoyed reading Boethius. For Aristotle, again, a person is a individual instantiation of an essence. So you have the essence rational animal, i.e. human being. But how does it exist? For Aristotle, the form always exists is a hylomorphic compound, a substance, which is a particular. It's like this man with a snub, I think he uses snub nose, because the hair color, like that individual right there is what a person is. So it's entirely reducible to the essence and subs to the hylomorphic compound there. There's nothing that transcends the essence. And different philosophers have different accounts of personhood. Other questions? What does this say? Oh, it's my buddy writing me that he'll come back to Montana. International Society for Environmental Ethics annual summer meeting. And is this in Missoula, Montana? University of Montana, huh? Interesting. Oh, right during the conference, June 8th to June 12th, or right before. Keynote speakers. Let's see. I don't even know who. Deborah McGregor. Oh, jeez, this does not look interesting to me. Sharing her current work on indigenous environmental justice. I just threw up in my mouth. What's person and holy relics? Energies you can participate in divine energies. A person and their essence, because you can't separate person and essence, can participate in divine energies. Those divine energies are life creating. And they can sanctify matter. And so what you see when you venerate and experience a holy relic or divine energies that are connected to both God, from which they come, and the person and their particular essence that actually participate in it. So you're in communion with the saints, and the saints are deified. Their matter is actually deified. So you're participating in God's divine energies through the relic as well. All right. Let's see. Moving on. What? Look at this. This guy thinks 99.9% of Christians are Zionist. How about 0? This is interesting. Depending on sources, Christian Zionists represent between 10 to 25% of American evangelicals, meaning a lower percentage of count. So even among American evangelicals, I actually thought it would be larger than that. They only represent 10 to 25% is what. Isn't that interesting? Yeah, all historic churches represent none of them are. How could you be like, we are Israel, you fool? Nostra Aetate in the 2003 Covenant and Mission document says otherwise. Ooh, interesting. This has to be a libertarian. Bootlicker. Putting in Christian monarchist state worshipping bootlickers. Yeah, come debate. Yeah, exactly. Oh, got a libertarian in here. This has to be a pagan. The Bible's a Zionist book. No. Yeah, it's... Man. I forgot about the pagan LARPers. They might be the worst of the people. They're so dumb and ignorant. We are Israel. Not everybody of Israel is of Israel, dummy. Don't you remember? Oh, you don't read. Israel is not defined in terms of land or genetics, but the faith. These people are hopelessly ignorant. Like you just can't reach them. Yeah. Never read the Journal of Joy. Sorry. Yeah, that's the info. Somebody brought this up. I don't know if it was at one of the talks or was one of the... I can't remember. But somebody had said that's the unfortunate consequence. One of the unfortunate consequences of the internet. Actions without consequences. back in the day, these saying and being a jerk would get you beat up. Basically, there's like people in some like they had a notion of my words and actions have consequences. The internet made through the anonymity made that like I can say and do whatever I want without any consequences. Well, what type of character do you think that produces? If somebody can do anything and everything that they want without consequences, it creates a sociopathic, narcissistic, Machiavellian, dark triad person, and which the internet's full of. They're effeminate, they're gamma, beta, cry, like you said, effeminate, whiny, crybaby, tone police, or like that's what the age of the internet and social media has produced. Those sorts of people. We've got to come up with a better name. Let's call them well, if we're just using Greek alphabet, epsilons for effeminate. The new person is called the epsilon. We've done alpha, beta, gamma. We've left out epsilon. All right. Any other questions that we want to cover before I shut it down? If you haven't liked or subscribed, please do. Leave a comment for the algorithm if you would. Last day to purchase your MontaNIKA tickets. Write me if you have an interest in possibly signing up for the Epistemology course. We'll have a couple more people sign up or express interest, and then we'll open up sign-ups for that. Other questions? Is that the same? I get these things people are reading my paper. We had an Elias in the chat. Let me see what your name was, your last name. Elias? Are you around? Or was that from the previous stream? Crispy. Pastor Paula Balls. That's a good. Yeah, I like the quote from St. Macarius. Thank you, Duev. Nathaniel, I thought your name was Deacon for, oh, funny. FDA is my Father Deacon, nice. Okay, moving through. Just making sure I have all the questions. All right, last chance to put in a question before we depart. No? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. I accidentally just shut you down. Hold on a second. I keep doing this, so I need to reboot my computer. It's lagging. I go to to click on the thing and it doesn't work, and then I accidentally clicked the close button and it shut you the second live. I'm live. It shut down the control room with all your chats and stuff like that. So just come here to see if anybody put any last questions in. We got the Jim Bob, raid Jim Bobs. And thank you for joining. Thank you for all those who contributed, for your support. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Let his grace shine upon you and give you good strength the rest of this Lent. Please keep me in your prayers. Until next time, God bless all of you. Bye-bye.